Hello again, it's Matt here from getyourfirstcodingjob.com, and I want to talk about today a topic which is a conversation I've had with three different people in the last week, and that is the question, am I too old to retrain to become a Java developer or a programmer actually of any language? And the people who've been asking me this question have been in their 30s and 40s, and I've been giving them the absolute definite answer, no, you are not too old. And actually that would apply really if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, no matter what age you are. Let me explain why that is the case. If you think about this from an employer's point of view, a lot of employers favour older workers because they see them as being more dedicated, more hardworking, certainly more mature, more likely to be loyal, less likely to be taking time off due to illness, because they're more experienced in what it means to be in a workplace and how to conduct yourself in a workplace. So employers don't consider age to be any kind of barrier. And we live in a world where people don't tend to get a job for life anymore. You don't tend to get a job as a teenager or in your early 20s and work in that same company for 30 years. That just really doesn't happen anymore. So employers are looking for somebody who is likely to be able to do a good job for them for maybe 5 to 10 years. And certainly anybody's age is no longer going to be a barrier to that. Obviously, in some countries, there is rules around discrimination. So you can't say, I only want to employ somebody in a certain age group. Although even if they could say that, that's unlikely to be, well, I only want to take on 18-year-olds. What you might see in job adverts is, I'm looking for somebody with a certain number of years experience. Although that tends to not happen so much in adverts for programmers. And the reason for that is because the way that you write code has changed over the years. So if I was looking for somebody as a Java programmer, for example, and I said, I'm looking for somebody with 10 years experience of coding, that really doesn't make much sense because the kind of code that you would have written 10 years ago and the frameworks that you'd be using with that language 10 years ago would look very different today. What you were doing 10 years ago is almost of very little use to me as a employer. I'm really interested in what you know now and what you can do now. So you don't tend to see many adverts that say 10 plus years experience. If you do see that advert, actually it's probably saying they want somebody who's a bit older. So even if you haven't got 10 years experience of coding, that doesn't necessarily, or it shouldn't necessarily, put you off applying for that role, because they're almost certainly not looking for 10 years of coding experience. They're looking for somebody who's a bit more mature. And hopefully I've explained why that might be what they're looking for. Now, if you are at the younger end, don't let that put you off either. The reality is, though, that even though age shouldn't be a barrier, sometimes in our heads that is a bit of a barrier, and there will be other barriers, because the reality is that most people consider a typical working environment for programmers to be one full of younger people who are tend to be more male than female. In some countries, not very split in terms of ethnicities. So certainly in some places you'll find it being very white. It might be a very straight environment. And these could be barriers for you to overcome. So if you are a female, you might think it's a bit intimidating to go into work an environment that's predominantly male. If you are not white in an environment where the majority of your colleagues will be white, again, that could be a bit intimidating. And it's a challenge for you to get over. Bear in mind, employers generally want to have very diverse workforces, right? They want a mixture of genders and sexualities and ethnicities, because that makes for a working environment where everyone is able to thrive. So although it's a barrier in our own heads, it's not a barrier at the other end of the person who's about to recruit you. If you're finding that is intimidating and it might be something that's holding you back, please get in touch, because I'd love to talk to you about that and try and find a way to help you get across that threshold so that you see you would be a benefit to a potential employer, whatever it is that you've got to offer. Your differences will be a strength. And I guess I'll finish this video by saying that if you're sitting there thinking, I might be too old to retrain, this might not be a viable career option to me. Consider your age to be a positive aspect that your potential employer will be looking for. They will think, great, somebody who's a bit older, a bit more mature is exactly what we need. So don't let that hold you back. Age genuinely is not a barrier to becoming a professional developer. Well, if you'd like to speak more about it with me, then feel free to get in touch. I'd love to have a conversation. If you haven't already, there is a free download you can get from my site with some hints and tips. And actually, when you've downloaded that, you'll find there's an option to actually book a call directly with me, a free phone call where we can have a chat one-to-one. Okay, well, thanks for watching. I hope you found this video useful and interesting. Feel free to leave your comments because I'd love to hear from you. Okay, bye for now.